And now out to Southern California, a sloppy Southern California out at Santa Anita. The rains came. We had an unfortunate scratch of Nolo Contesto, who would have been an interesting candidate in a spot like this. I left us for the field of five for the Robert B. Lewis. Let's take a look at that field. Mile and a 16th. The question was, Mucho Gusto, could he sit if needed, which it didn't look like he was going to need to because on paper he was lone speed. Distance, would that necessarily be ideal for him? Wet track, given his pedigree and a relative lack of impressive pieces for an off track. Would any of that be to his undoing? No, at the end of the day, put your faith in Bob Baffert with a 3-year-old. It's the smartest thing you can do. Here's the stretch run of the Lewis.
They're at the top of the stretch. Mucho Gusto. Gunmetal Gray on the far outside. Easy Shot is in striking range. Magnificent McCool at the rail. They're in the final furlong. And Mucho Gusto now pours it on. Opens up 3. Easy Shot. Gunmetal Gray will battle for second. Mucho Gusto, impressive in victory, cruises home by...
Mucho Gusto gets the job done at odds of 3-5 as the favorite over Gunmetal Gray, the second choice. He gets in there at odds of 8-5, and then your third place finisher is Easy Shot, who rounds out the try at odds of 12-1. Let's take a look at the winner a little bit more. Mucho Gusto. This is a 2-time stakes winner at this point in his career. He is now 3 of 4 lifetime, all 4 in the exact. His only loss was to Improbable in the Los Alamitos Futurity. He's at $234,000 on the nose in career earnings, owned by Michael L. Peterson, trained by Bob Baffert, bred by Teneri Farm Incorporated and Bernardo Alvarez Calderon in Kentucky. Ridden to victory by Joe Talamo, and you can see the pedigree at the bottom of the horse card. He is by Mucho Macho Man out of a Giants Causeway mare named It's a Giants Causeway. 90 Beyer speed figure, 111 time form U.S. rating for Mucho Gusto, winning this race. He finishes in 31.28 as opposed to the runner-up Gunmetal Gray, who finishes in 30.90. But keep in mind, Gunmetal Gray came from last. It is unfortunate. Kid Cantina, the horse that was eased, I believe he was euthanized. So condolences out to the connections. He was out there, forwardly placed early on. And unfortunately had an issue. A little bit of a surprise from the way the race was run. The fact that Magnificent McCool was out there, the one they sent him pretty hard. Now keep in mind, he broke his maiden most recently on grass. This style didn't work for him very obviously. Now you can also factor in, was it the wet track? Was it better horses? Was it a number of things? Or is he a nice turf horse now? We'll find out in time. Ultimately, this didn't work. But Mucho Gusto, it was very, very nice to see that he can sit comfortably and come. He never looked like a loser rounding the far turn. And then when Joe Talamo gave him a little bit of a chirp, I mean, his ears were up straight. It was a beautiful thing. Asked him to go. He strides out nicely. The 90 Beyer, the 111 time form U.S. rating. The track didn't seem to be an issue for him. The sloppy sealed going. The mile and a 16th was not an issue for him. He galloped out strong as well. He can sit now off of a target. All of a sudden, Mucho Gusto goes from what would be, I would say, a fringe kind of Derby contender, even with Baffert in his corner, to you could make a serious case right now and say, you know what? Okay, he's not Improbable. Keep in mind, Improbable is 5 lengths better than him in the Los Al Futurity. But should you want to take a chance against him? Outside of Improbable, outside of Game Winner, who else is there? There's a serious case to be made that Mucho Gusto belongs in that next echelon, that next sort of tier. This was a very, very nice effort. I thought this was his most complete effort to date. I thought Talamo rode him beautifully, and this was an emphatic win. Gunmetal Gray. The problem with Gunmetal Gray is going to be exactly what you saw on Saturday. He had pace, and he came with his run, but the horse that has a tactical advantage on him that can still finish is always going to have a major, major leg up on him. That's just the nature of the beast with a one-run closer. Gunmetal Gray's a neat horse. I think he's honest. I think he's going to run all day. He's just probably more likely than not going to settle for minor awards as opposed to getting his picture taken in these biggest races. And Easy Shot, I maintain. Turn him back to one turn. I think he's going to be a nice 7/8 kind of horse, maybe one-turn mile or maybe the Pat Day mile when it's all said and done. I just don't think that as distances go on, this is going to be good for him. At the end of the day, though, Mucho Gusto, very, very impressive here, winning the Robert B. Lewis. He gets a 90 Beyer and a 111 time form U.S. rating. Much smaller sort of quick hit stakes montage this week, but there's still a number of races. We'll have 6 of them that we'll throw up there, and we'll come back, give you a couple little quick tidbits here and there before we throw it into the weekend's best as far as Beyer speed figures are concerned. Here it is, the quick hit stakes montage.